Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read the double parashas of Matos and Masei, and Emir Hashem conclude Chumash Bamidbar. Beginning of Parashas Matos focuses on the halachos of nidarim, vows. And the Torah says as follows. This is the Parak Lamed Pasuk Gimel, chapter 30, verse 2. Ish ki yidar neder laHashem, if a person will take a vow, o hi shava shvua, or a person will take an oath, le'asar isra al nafsho, to prohibit something to himself. So remember again, a vow, an oath, although there are different halachic mechanisms, but ultimately again, they have the ability to prohibit something to the individual, whether they're prohibiting the object or if they're prohibiting the individual, what we call in Talmudic lingo an isra gavra or an isra chefza. That's for a different shir. But point over here is if a person goes ahead and takes a neder or a vow or a shvua or an oath to prohibit something to himself, what is that? What does Torah say? Lo yachel devaro, do not profane your word. Kichol hayotze mipiv yasa, whatever you articulate to do, make sure that you carry through. And the pasuk is profound on a variety of levels. First of all, the Torah articulating to us a very important yesod in relationships. Keep your word. Whether it's the word that we make to others, whether it's the word that we articulate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or whether it's the promises, the vows, and the oaths that we make towards ourselves. Speech is the greatest gift that the Ribono Shel Olam gave us. Speech is in and of itself what makes us, at least in part, divine. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you're going to use your speech, you're going to make a shvua, you're going to make a neder, you're going to make a vow, you're going to make an oath, don't profane your words. How do you ensure that you don't profane your words? How do you fulfill lo yachel devaro? Kichol hayotze mipiv yasa. Whatever you say you're going to do it. A beautiful yesod about the power of speech. Also a beautiful yesod in general about one of the greatest challenges in life is that sometimes we become so proficient and so good about speaking about what we're going to do. We're able to articulate such beautiful and grandiose visions and plans, and there's a short-term plan and a long-term plan. There's only one problem. We fail to execute. And Chadash Baruch Hu, the Ribono Shel Olam, who believes in us so much, says, Lo yachel devaro. Don't allow your speech to become profane. When does speech become profane? When you don't fulfill that which you say you're going to do. When you don't live up to the dreams and expectations that you set for yourself. So rather, kichol hayotze mipiv yaseh. Don't spend life talking about what you're going to do. Don't spend life dreaming. Don't spend life visioning. Of course, dream and vision. But just as important as the dream and the vision is the execution. Lo yachel devaro, don't allow your words to become profane. Kichol hayotze mipiv yaseh. Whatever you say you're going to do, make sure ultimately that you carry through on that. And Lubavitch Rebbe Zecher Tzaddik Kodesh Levracha says something so beautiful. The Rebbe writes in the Likutei Sichos a beautiful idea. The Rebbe discusses the idea that, remember again, these parashios, really again, we finish Chumash Bamidbar, and all of Chumash Devarim takes place on the banks of the Jordan River, the Trans-Jordanian lands. Klal Yisrael is getting ready to transition from life in the desert, ultimately again to life in Eretz Yisrael. And there were going to be many adjustments, many components to that transition. But most notably, the Rebbe says, the greatest transition was they were going to go from a life in the desert, which was fully spiritual. Our ancestors in the desert had absolutely no material considerations. Their food was provided for them. Their clothing was laundered for them. Heating and air conditioning was provided by the divine cloud, the divine fire. They had to worry for nothing. Wars were waged in miraculous supernatural ways. And suddenly, the moment we cross the Jordan River, the moment we go into Eretz Yisrael, all of that changes. And suddenly, again, as a people of destiny, we have to get involved in dvarim gashmiyim, dvarim artziyim, physical, material things. There's this tremendous transition. And the Rebbe says something so beautiful. He says, when you live in a world in which you don't have to care about the material and everything is spiritual, holiness is easy. Because holiness is everywhere. And there's nothing to stare, there's nothing to undermine the holiness in your life. But when you have to transition to a material, physical, earthly life, when you have to cross the Jordan and go into Eretz Yisrael, suddenly there are challenges with your ruchnius. There are challenges with holiness. There are challenges with spirituality. Because suddenly, again, there are competing things. I have work. I have a field. I have responsibilities. I have to put food on the table. I have to be honest in business. I have to interact with other people. All these different things that didn't apply in the desert suddenly apply now. And the Rebbe says something so beautiful. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, albeit in a very veiled and nuanced way, is teaching us the most important lesson for success. How do you succeed in that transition from desert life to Eretz Yisrael life? How do you succeed in that transition from supernatural, spiritual, to mundane, everyday, physical, and material? And the Rebbe says it's all in one phrase. Lo yachel devaro. So we translated that phrase, lo yachel devaro, as do not profane your word. Yachel, Rashi says, is like chulin. Chulin, mundane. Chul, like chulin, you have hektish, you have chulin. Something that lacks sanctity. So don't allow your word to become profane. Don't become your word to allow it to become unholy. But the Rebbe says it means something different, or means something additional. He says, lo yachel devaro hainu, shelo ya'aseh devarav chulin. In life, don't allow your dvarav, your things, your dealings, your actions, don't allow them to become chulin. Don't allow them to become just mundane, regular, and ordinary. He says, V'zehu ofen ha'avoda be'inyonim hagashmiyim. Kadosh Baruch Hu is telling us how to navigate in a material, physical world. Lo yachal, you see, in our limited way, we've been defining divaro as your word, like dibor. The Rebbe says divaro means davar. Davar, what's davar? Davar is a thing. What does thing mean? Everything. Don't allow your things, don't allow your actions, don't allow your behaviors, don't allow your lifestyle to become chulin, to become mundane. Lo yachel divaro. Where he says, shlifo shegam dorach gashmiyim. Shadvar magashmiyim lo yiyu chulin. Even your material, physical things, don't allow them to be mundane. El lahamshich bahem kiddusha. But rather, again, try to find kiddusha in anything and everything that you do. See, the Ribono Shel Olam is telling us something amazing. Often in life, we kind of create these situations where it's an either or. Either you have a fully spiritual and holy existence in the desert, or you have a mundane, physical, material existence in Eretz Yisrael. And this was a mindset that was carried by many. According to many, this was the whole sin of the Meraglim. The whole reason why the spies sabotaged the entire entry into Eretz Yisrael is because they thought that by going into Eretz Yisrael, they'd have to give up Kedusha. The Rebbe is saying it's not an either or. Kedusha is everywhere. Holiness is everywhere. And it's accessible. It's accessible to us wherever and whenever we want it. We just have to really want it. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this whole inyan of Nedarim and Shavuos is about creating realities, right? The person makes a Neder, they create a reality. A person takes a Shavuot, you create a reality. The Rebbe says, create realities and lo yachel devaro. Do not allow the dvarim, the things of life, to become mundane. Find Kiddusha. Create Kiddusha in everything that you're doing. From your home life to your business life, from the field to the boardroom, from your interactions with God to your interactions with your fellow Jew. Every area of life can be filled with so much Kiddusha. We just have to want it. We just have to look for it. There are sparks of holiness anywhere and everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere. But at the end of the day, you just have to seek it out. And that's the end of the pasuk. It's not enough just to commit yourself to saying, yes, I want a life of Kedusha, I want a life of holiness. Make it happen. Make it happen. What am I doing to create Kedusha in my life? Dear friends, how many of us go through life and we say, oh, I'm uninspired, or my family's uninspired, my home life is uninspired, day-to-day life is uninspired. Oh, it happens to all of us. But then the follow-up shaila is, what are you doing? So I got it, you're uninspired. So what are you doing about it? What dynamic, decisive life activity are you taking? Kadosh Baruch Hu says Kedusha is everywhere. Kedusha is not just in the desert when you're getting the man and your clothing's laundered by God and there's a fire and there's a cloud and divine presence and Moshe Rabbeinu and a Mishkan there nestled in the middle. Kedusha is everywhere. And Kedusha is any time. You just have to want it. But whatever you do, lo yachel devaro. Do not allow your life to become mundane. Do not allow the devarim, the things of your existence, of your day-to-day life, to be marked by ordinarity and mundanity. Make something holy of yourself and something holy of your life. The most incredible and beautiful and magnificent message of Chizak. Perhaps is it easier to find holiness in the desert? Possible. But the desert was only for 40 years, and that was never the ideal, and that was never something to aspire to. Our time in the desert was supposed to be much shorter and was supposed to be a necessary bridge between Egypt and Eretz Yisrael. Life is all about, right? B'tzeisim Mitzrayim, b'tzeisim Yerushalayim. That desert time, that beautiful spiritual utopia, that's nice, but that's not life. Life is about lo yachel devaro. Do not allow your life to be mundane. Whether you're in Egypt moments of difficulty, or whether in Yerushalayim moments of beautiful spiritual serenity, make something beautifully holy of your life. And don't just talk about it. Don't just dream about it, but figure out the necessary steps to actually make that a reality. And I think, learning this lesson, Emir Tashem, on this Shabbos of Rosh Chodesh Av, I think really helps us to internalize another lesson. Because we come to this month, and often we come to the 9 days, come to Chodesh Av, we're not really sure exactly what to do with it. We've been without a Beis HaMikdash for thousands of years. And it's hard to mourn for something for which we have no frame of reference. And Chazal understood this. Chazal said, Mishenichnas Av mema'atin b'simcha. If you notice, the month of Av comes, we diminish our simcha. Now, what's interesting to notice is, it doesn't say Mishenichnas Av, we stop simcha, right? Ein smechin b'chodesh Av. We don't say that. It's mema'atin b'simcha. What does that mean? What does that mean? I diminish my simcha? Either it's a very sad time. So what? Or just say, the month of Av comes, period, no simcha. Okay, so if you're a good chassid, it's impossible for a yid to live without simcha. But what does it mean? Mematin b'simcha. And perhaps, again, it's this very lesson. Our heart breaks over the loss of our Beis HaMikdash, even if I have no idea what a Beis HaMikdash is. Because, dear friends, if you reach deep inside enough of yourself, you will feel that aching void about what it means to live without a Beis HaMikdash. I know it. I feel it in my heart, even though I can't put it into words. I can't describe what it means to miss something that we haven't had for over 2,000 years, but in my heart, I do. I feel that void. There's absolutely something missing. And compound that with all the thousands of years of losses for Klal Yisrael, to the contemporary losses that we still experience in this current war, to the feeling, the aching longing over our brothers and sisters who are still being held in captivity. We know what it means. But you know what's incredible? When you kind of sift through all those layers of loss, there's a simcha. Sounds strange. What's the simcha? The simcha is despite it all. Despite the loss of the Beis HaMikdash, despite the millions of losses over the millennia, despite the shattered collective heart of Klal Yisrael, there's still simcha. Do you know why? Lo yachel devaro. Because I know no matter what, I can create a life of Kiddusha. Because no matter what, I can create for myself a life of holiness. Because no matter what, I don't have to be ordinary, regular, and mundane. I can create something spiritually magnificent. With a Beis HaMikdash or without a Beis HaMikdash, I can do it. Be a lot better to do it with the Beis HaMikdash. But the absence of the Beis HaMikdash will not stand in my way. I can do anything. I can be anything. I don't have to live a life of chulin. And that's the simcha. And that simcha bubbles up even in Chodesh Av. So therefore Chazal couldn't say, Mishenichnas Av ein smechin. Can't say that. Because there is simcha even now. There's the simcha that I could create a life of Kiddusha. Whether I'm in Mitzrayim, whether I'm in Yerushalayim, whether I'm in the desert, whether I'm in Gaza, whether I'm in Poland, whether I'm in Auschwitz, whether I'm on Har HaBayis, wherever I am, there's Kiddusha. And wherever I am, I can create that beautiful fire of Kiddusha. And that is the greatest simcha that a Yid could experience. Which be Zochem Yirtz Hashem, to live lives of beautiful spiritual inspiration. We should reject mundanity, ordinarity. We should take this mantra of Lo Yachel Devaro. I'm not going to let the things of life become mundane. I'm going to find Kiddusha wherever I am. Make a beautiful fire of holiness in my life. And maybe Zochem Yirtz Hashem, that before this month of Av ends, maybe we'll have to start it with a sense of mourning. But maybe Zochem Yirtz Hashem, to close it with a sense of celebration. Wishing everyone a good Shabbos and a good Chodesh.